So, hey all, welcome to my 2022 year in review. So, I'm just going to go over the highlights for this one because, I had some memorable events this year and, nothing as thrilling as I had hoped, I guess, but, well, actually, I shouldn't say that. 2022 was a really good year in most regards. But ups and downs. We'll talk about that. But first thing I want to mention is that cons this year are more or less back to normal. That we attended our first furry con since the pandemic started. We went to Texas Furry Fiesta at the beginning of this year. Of course, obviously, it happened in 2020 because right after, about a week later, we had discovered about the pandemic. And there was obviously not one in 2021, but with 2022, they had the event. It was at a different hotel than the one we were used to. And although we had no problem getting there, it felt a little bit crowded. And I don't know if maybe, I think it was kind of because of the layout of the hotel. It didn't really lend itself well to traffic flow for a large event such as ours, because the lobby was thinner than I think it would preferably have been. The elevators were kind of were one elevator was right in the main hallway, and the other one was kind of tucked in the back. There were a lot of narrow halls on the second floor, or at least I should say narrow compared to what furry conventions usually tend to need once they hit a certain size. There also were only a few places that people generally tend to congregate, like a lot, and that was there was where they did registration and where they had the dealer's room. That was kind of where a lot of people tended to bottleneck, and it was very tough in this hotel to find areas where you could just find a clean area to take a picture. There was just a lot of crowds everywhere, a lot of crowds in the background, and a lot of people. And I guess that's good and or sort of expected because both of the size of the convention and the fact that it hadn't happened the previous year, so I'm sure people were looking forward to going back. But, at least as far as TFF anyway, it made us think that, at least for a little while anyway, we're going to put a pause on it. Maybe, it might be something I might go to if I ever get around to having more than one book. But we'll see. But overall TFF was good, but it was also a little bit crowded, and I think all three of us, myself, my partner, and our usual third roommate, with the fourth one usually kind of tending to rotate depending on who's available. We all kind of decided that it was a little bit busy for us, so we might just step away from that for a bit. And also, the pandemic kind of gave us a good reason to recalculate our travel plans anyway. But I still like TFF. I might go back at some point, when I'm ready, but we'll see. The second thing I want to discuss is that I have a new job. Around late February, I had an interview, which I did on my computer, and they liked me enough to pick me up. And it's miles apart from my last position. It's like I really enjoy it. I've been there, I guess, for 8 months now. Well, no, 10 months, because if I started in the end of February, yeah, that's March to December, so I've been there for 10 months now, almost a full year. And I've gotten the hang of the monthly routine. Everybody seems to like me. I seem to like them. I have my own office. I have, I've kind of, I've settled in at this point. It's kind of, my little space. I'm more or less allowed to sort of, I guess, just do what it is I have to do. My last job, it was very much a daily cycle. There was just a routine of things that I always had to do, like always. But I mean, here it also feels like, although there's a monthly cycle, I can kind of, I guess, at my discretion, unless something comes up that, of course, it becomes a priority, I can just sort of take my tasks, just handle them in the order that I feel like handling them, and just sort of like use my own judgment, which I really kind of appreciate. It's kind of nice. Um, my supervisor is great. I like all the people I work with. I like the general environment and pace. It's really just pretty much perfect for me. And as a side note, and I know I mentioned this in a previous vlog, I found it interesting that my last position reached out to me about coming back. And, I turned them down for a few reasons, but the most obvious was that, now I'm pretty happy at my current position, and I don't really want to uh, shake up the apple cart. But I mean, even if I was so inclined to do so, the more I thought about it, and I know I discussed this in detail in the other video, but I'm just going to reiterate it quickly here, is that there was just a lot of reasons, a lot of things about how that last office ran itself, about the people, and, various things that just made me glad that I'm where I am now and not still there. So, it's one of those things that I'm just glad that I am where I am now. So there is that. But as far as unfortunate things, some of you may know, and if you don't remember, I was in a car accident somewhere towards the summertime, I think. I was heading to work, and I knew my car was not being super reliable at this particular point, so I was just driving relatively slow. I was driving, well, not relatively, but I was driving at the speed limit, keeping my eye out for things, and somebody pulled out from a stop sign and pulled in front of me. And of course, there really wasn't much I could do about that at this point. I had no reason to expect to stop because they had the stop sign, I did not. But they pulled out in front of me, which caused me to hit them and the car behind me to hit me, although I didn't realize that it happened at the time. So, needless to say, my car was not running at that point. And after the insurance did its thing, we put it through their insurance, because the accident was definitely their fault. And after all that was done, we took the money and we took a couple of bits that I had saved, and we went to go get a new car at the dealership, which, my initial thought had been to buy a brand new car, but as none were available at the time because they were pretty much selling them before they even got to the lot. We decided that we were going to go with the used car. So we did that. They had a used Hyundai Sonata that we really liked, and it's really, it's the same year model, so it's really practically new, and it's really worked out really well for us. It's got a lot of features that in following years have become standard that we really enjoy. So it turned out to be, I guess, a good thing. It was going to happen eventually. It just sort of accelerated our timeline. But the car's all set up in my name now, and it's all good to go. And incidentally, I should reiterate that if you have to change your name for any reason, whether you get married, divorced, or like me, are transgender, you might also happen to have to update your information with the credit reporting agencies, because apparently it's not something I ever would have thought of at the time, because it's they just kind of like do it on their own. It's not like you make an account with them, or it's a service that you use. Like, they just report your credit to lenders. So this is like a third party thing. But if you are updating your information because of either of those reasons, remember the credit reporting agencies, because it will be a lot easier for you to do it when you don't need credit than when you do. Let's see. I also had my 40th birthday this year. It's kind of hard to believe that I'm 40, but such is life, I guess. And then, of course, it obviously beats the alternative. I mean, I was hoping to do something special for my 40th birthday, but the pandemic kind of torpedoed those plans. So, but it's fine. I mean, I had a good, fairly standard birthday. And I don't know, maybe going someplace or expecting a couple of friends to meet you there. I don't know, maybe that's kind of too much to ask, but it was an idea. It was just something I thought about, and maybe it'll be something we end up doing for 50 or something. I don't know, but let's see. There was Star Trek Las Vegas, which we went to this year, again for the third time. This was at Bally's this year. They held it at a different hotel because I believe the Rio was undergoing renovations and or updates, and I think they wanted to avoid the whole renovation issue. I think that was when that was the reason why it was at Bally's for a year. And I will say that Bally's had everything we needed. It just was not set up as well, and that's not the con's fault, but the Bally's, to put it this way, it's like the layout of the building is a little bit is more of a straight line for Bally's than it was for the Rio. Like in the Rio, the biggest occupancy room is right in the rotunda, so it opens up to a very wide space. And in Bally's, it's at the end of the hallway. So if a big event lets out, there it's like swimming upstream. Um, Also, some of the social areas are were up on the in this isolated section on the 28th floor. So, um, while most people would have been hanging out there, or at least some people would have been hanging out there, they were just kind of off to the side. So most people probably forgot they were there, or just didn't think it was worth going up there for. I mean, there was a couple of nifty exhibits for Nichelle Nichols and a few other things up there, but for the most part, it wasn't really a huge draw. Not when the con was official. But the convention though was very good. I mean, we managed to get everything that or most of the things we were looking for. Um, Unfortunately, the convention didn't have anything for Melissa Navia to sign, and I didn't have anything prepared, so I was not able to obtain her autograph. But we got everything else, and it was good. I mean, we went in on the Tuesday. Previous years, the convention opened up early on the Tuesday, and Wednesday night was the preview night. But lately, it's been like a day shorter. But that kind of worked out for us because we went in Tuesday. We were able to handle just getting settled on Tuesday. Wednesday we had the preview night, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday was the main days of the con. And of course, it was a lot of standing in lines and a lot of waiting for things, but it was worth it. When all was said and done. I really enjoyed going, and I'm looking forward to going next year. They've managed to secure most of the next generation guests, I believe, because of the third season of Picard will have been released by that point. Um, and I am looking forward to seeing both it and going back to Star Trek Las Vegas for the fourth year. This time we might actually have a friend of ours that I've finally managed to convince to go. I've been trying to get a couple of them to come with us. Um, but that is the plan. I mean, Star Trek Las Vegas is definitely like the big con of the year because I start saving and planning months in advance, and it's actually I think starting earlier than it was last year. Perhaps maybe because they were waiting until they were sure the event would happen last year or something. I don't know, but it's already started being ready or preparing for readiness this year. So that'll be where I'll be in come August. Star Trek Las Vegas back at the Rio. Um, I should also mention that this year I had my first ever mammogram. I've never had one before, but the doctor suggested I get one. So most of the ladies probably already know what that entails, but this was a first time for me. So it was all kind of just showing up at the appointment and just telling them, whatever, tell me what you need me to do, and that was it. It wasn't too bad. I don't think it was really, I don't know. It was just a lot of poking and prodding and squeezing. It's I guess it's one of those things, but it was the first time, so I thought it was worth mentioning. I guess the last thing to cover is Christmas. We had a good Christmas. We did the family thing last week, and I talked about this a little bit on the vlog, but we had a nice, our usual Christmas morning routine. Get up usually about the middle of the morning, do breakfast first, and then open presents, and then just kind of chill out. It was a good holiday. I'd say we were both happy with how things went, with our gifts, with everything. We didn't have any real social obligations on Christmas itself this year, although I did call my mom and talk to them, see how they were doing, what their Christmas plans were, and we talked about my eventual visit. And I mean, Christmas Eve we had a roast for dinner, and it was really good. And a lot of it was just kind of spent just enjoying our presents, enjoying the holiday, and just enjoying a general day off. Um, I guess that's really about it. Christmas was good, and 2022 overall, I'd have to say was pretty good to me. I'm hoping to make 2023 a reasonably productive year. But a couple of things I did accomplish that I guess I will also mention while I'm still talking about this is that I managed to keep up with the videos pretty much all year. I may have missed a week here or there, I don't remember, but for the most part, I've been able to keep up with the cycle. I'm still, for some reason, the last 2 months in a row, I've forgotten the end of month stuff, and I keep trying not to do that. But um, we'll work on it, and I'll figure it out, and I'll just produce what I can when I can as best I can, and just keep that going, and then just try and do that with some other stuff, and maybe just finally make some steps forward and be able to actually keep some promises to myself. I guess that's about it for now, so I will catch you all the next time I do an update.
If you like werewolves, check out my book Blue Moon, available in paperback and ebook on Amazon.
Thanks for watching, and if you liked it, click the subscribe button and leave a comment below. You can also find me on Twitter and a few other places on the web, or support me via Patreon or Ko-fi. Zebra hugs!